Hi, I'm Adam Meyer of Mill City Lutherie in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I have another modification video for you today. Now, this modification isn't anything out of the ordinary other than a special request by the customer that is a little bit different for a final result. I'm going to be doing a fretless conversion on this American Deluxe Fender Jazz bass, and the customer does not like seeing lined fretless fingerboards. So, what I propose to him is he has a rosewood fingerboard. I'll make my own filler strips out of Indian rosewood. Have a head plate here that I ordered. The issue is it's much too thick to fill fret slots. So the first step will be to remove the frets, find how thick the slots are, and that will be, I'll have to run this through my thickness sander to get to that thickness. Too thick, I'm trying to force it into the slot. That can make the fingerboard expand, and then it's not playable. Too narrow, and you can end up with too much of a line on both sides, and it's more obvious that it's a fretless conversion than really should be. So, step one would be to remove the frets, and we'll get started on that. Later on in the video, I'll be finishing off the bass with the rest of the modifications the customer has requested. One is to replace the jazz bass pickups with some Lindy Fralin split jazz bass pickups. And then he wants a Piezo element added to this bass. The issue with this bass is it is string through, which really limits where we can replace the bridge, what bridges can be used on it. I use this on the basses I make, the hip shot. The problem is it is string through as well, but it will not line up this way. So the individual saddles will be getting replaced with the ghost saddles from Graphtech. And at that point, I'll be showing you how I'll install them on the bridge, because we need to have a channel underneath here to feed the wires through to the preamp. Once that is done, we'll be adding preamp, which will be hidden underneath the pick guard, so we're not having all sorts of covers all over the place. And when we get to it, there will be a battery box installed back here to power the preamp. Now we're on to the next stage. The slotting of the slots has been done. Fret slotting saw. So now it's time to figure out how wide the slots are after that, so that we can determine how thick we want the filler strips to be. With the feeler gauge, I have a 25 thousandths. That does not fit. So use a nut slotting file, 24 thousandths. And that goes in perfectly. So I'd run this through my thickness sander already. I got it down as thin as I can get it before it gets kind of warped and you end up having thin and thick areas. I'm able to peel it off the tape easily yet without breaking it. And I'm at 37 thousandths. So I have some sanding to do by hand on this. What I'm going to do, going to cut it into sections. Probably get 3 sections out of it. Tack it down, sand it with the block to get it to that 24 thousandths, and hopefully it'll all be nice and consistent. This next step is unique strictly just to Fender instruments. There might be other small makers out there that do this, but really it's just Fender that does this. The bottom of the nut slots and the fret slots actually follow the radius at the top of the fingerboard. They are not flat at the bottom. You know, the layperson may not know this. People who do repair understand it. You know, take a file here, set it inside a slot. You know, it rocks back and forth because the bottom there is rounded. So this is a 9.5-inch radius fingerboard. What's unique is I'm going to have to cut out strips that have that radius on the bottom. So I'm going to use my radius gauge as a guide here, then cut out each strip so it is arched just like the radius of the fingerboard. And that will get them to seat in all the way to the bottom, fill the slots up completely. That is what makes this unique to a different brand of bass. If you were to do a fretless conversion, you could just simply cut out straight strips, glue them in, and you're done. I'm going to explain why this needs a neck shim. This bass was built to have frets. When it's completed, fully assembled, it was meant to have frets on here, which would be approximately in that 45 to 50 thousandths of an inch high, and your strings would be above that. Now, when you remove the frets, your strings would still be in the same place unless you adjusted them. If you didn't adjust them, it's harder to play because you're pulling the strings down further. So to adjust that, normally you would come to the bridge and you would lower the saddles. That's your overall string adjustment. On this bass, when it came into me, the action was correct. It's where the customer liked it, was in the normal range. And you can see here that the saddles really don't have a lot of room to go down. Ideally, when the bass is set up, everything's correct, the job is done, you want the saddles to be approximately this height, maybe just a touch higher, so that you have some adjustment up and down over the years of playing. But we can't do that with it as is. That's where the neck shim comes in. I'll cut out from a thin piece of wood to match the neck heel and the neck pocket. That will bring the neck up to compensate for the height lost of removing the frets. Now, like I said, I'll cut this out, make it fit perfectly in the neck pocket all the way around. It'll be square, not angled, and I will then put a little touch-up finish around the edge to make it blend in with the rest of the body. Now, obviously, you'll still see a seam, but the idea is to get the color close enough that you don't notice that there's a piece of wood there. That is the cure for removing the frets, but still being able to correct the height of the string action. And you can buy shims pre-made, but being a builder, I have plenty of extra pieces laying around that are already, you know, thickness sanded and everything, and this is going to be around the thickness that needs to be. So I'm able to custom fit it so it fits around just perfectly. It fits all the way to the back, shaped to fit the neck pocket completely. Got neck screw holes, and now it's time to put the neck on, string it up. I'll be able to determine if it's the thickness I want for in the end, and if I need to thin it down at all, I'll be able to do that. But I'm going to get the neck on, do the fingerboard leveling now, and then if I need to tailor this any, I will then do it after the fingerboard has been leveled.